Talk to them. Lifeless.
Slop, slop, slop. Dog shit game. Oak garbage. Trash. Concord 3. Destiny died for this. Player count chart, player count chart. We want Destiny 3. Player count chart, player count chart. Dead on arrival. Co-parter. Flopathon. Dead game.
Marathon, if I have to fucking bury you myself to send that message, I shall. I will do everything I can to destroy you, piss on your corpse, and light you on fire afterwards.
Alright, dude, we get it. You don't like the game. What's going on, YouTube? Scar here, and before we get started with this video, I want to say thank you for helping me reach over 100 subscribers. It's a huge milestone for me, and I'm very thankful for your support. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to business. Can Marathon escape Bungie's baggage? Marathon is a wonderful first-person shooter experience crafted by the battle-hardened and historic studio Bungie. I've been enjoying my time with the game, but whenever I go online or to social media and come across the general discourse surrounding this game, I honestly feel like I'm actively losing brain cells. It's okay to have genuine criticisms and complaints, everyone does, but it's all just player count charts and Bungie needs to do XYZ for Marathon, woke this, slop that, Destiny this, Destiny died for this, we got this instead of Destiny 3, you guys need to support this if you want D3, bashing the studio, community managers, etc, etc. It's all so monotonous and genuinely tiring to read. I'm generally uninformed with the minute details of Bungie's quote-unquote history with Destiny. Aside from releasing great titles that transcend generations, I had no idea why groups of consumers are so dissatisfied and distrusting of Bungie as a studio. And in a world where media literacy is dying and hyperbolic comments, grifting, and knee-jerk reactions rule the discourse, I did the unthinkable. I did some research and educated myself on the topic, and I'm gonna share and discuss with you everything I learned and talk about the future of Marathon in this video. My first question was, what did Bungie do? Bungie once had one of the strongest reputations in gaming. They brought us the undeniably iconic Halo series, which has cultural impact and relevancy to this day. Then they launched the Destiny series, a generational franchise that featured a vast world and storytelling with addictive loot progression systems and the Bungie signature of excellent shooting mechanics, satisfying gameplay, all on the back of stunning art direction and world building. So what happened between the beloved releases of Halo then and now the controversial release of Marathon? Let's take a look at Destiny. If we go back in time into 2014, we can find that Destiny also had a troubled and controversial launch, with complaints of weak, confusing, and gutted storylines, and missing or underdeveloped features after years of anticipation and marketing. Over time, Bungie was able to evolve Destiny and create a gaming experience that cemented the franchise's identity. Few shooters offer the things Destiny does, like complex cooperative mechanics, puzzle solving, the in-depth loot progression systems, and not to mention, among other things, the beloved raid system, trials, strikes, the social tower, and more. With all of its shortcomings, Destiny stumbled out of the gate and found its footing in becoming the beloved franchise and gaming experience it is today. I still remember walking around the tower with my friends, finding Xur, or my first time stepping on the moon, or my first time raiding the Vault of Glass. All of these are core memories with the Destiny gaming experience. Moving forward, 2017, out comes Destiny 2. a free-to-play live service game that was also heavily criticized. When this game launched, players had usual complaints: disdain for live service and monetization practices, complaints of weapon customization being reduced, character builds being simplified, and shallow endgame progression with less incentivizing loot. The general consensus was that D2 went a bit backwards. So what did Bungie do? They listened to community feedback, iterated on the game, and eventually, through major expansions and content add-ons, turned things around. But Scar, what happened? You still haven't told us why people are upset. We're getting there. In Destiny 2, the major dev decisions that seemed to be the biggest point of dissatisfaction for fans of the franchise were sunsetting weapons and gear and content vaulting. Entire campaigns, destinations, strikes, raids, and activities that players had paid for were just removed from the live game, no longer able to be accessed, played, and enjoyed. Seems crazy, right? It made me wonder, why would they do this? And how did they justify it? Bungie cited a few major reasons for their actions. One, the game was getting enormous. At one point, it required more storage than World of Warcraft. Downloads were huge, updates were long, and testing every activity, item, weapon, or piece of gear became difficult. This leads us to reason number 2. They also updated the game's engine, and they mentioned that D2 is becoming harder and harder to maintain. Removing older content that they cited wasn't being played that much anyway would reduce the amount of old assets and functions they had to support. 3. They wanted to make new content faster. Less older content meant fewer things to QA test and debug whenever a new update launched, with big overhauls to mechanics, items, gear, weapons, systems, and more. From a toy box perspective, this is the equivalent of, we can't keep adding toys forever, your box is getting full, so some old toys need to go into storage. From the player perspective, imagine buying a toy, playing with it for years, then one day it's gone, taken away. Players weren't just losing unpopular content, they were losing the original storyline. They were losing paid expansions and activities they purchased with real money, locations they enjoyed, gear they grinded for. From Bungie's side, the game was too big and too much to maintain, and they did what they felt was needed in order for Destiny to keep growing. From the players' side, content that they paid for was being taken away. Both arguments had merit and made sense from their perspective, which is why this controversy still haunts us today. Players, or humans, all respond differently to events and situations like this. Some will hold resentment and even hatred. Some will hold sadness and sorrow. Some will be graceful and optimistic. And some will have a mixture of all of the above and more. With Destiny being officially marked for end of service, Destiny players feel like they are losing something they love, and will naturally respond differently. Everyone has lost things with respect to gaming. I remember quote-unquote losing Halo or its original essence. I remember watching Call of Duty become watered down and neglected. I remember losing original Overwatch. I remember losing Hyperscape, and so on and so forth. It's not a great feeling to lose something you love or are passionate about. How does Marathon fit into this? People feel that Bungie divided developer resources and shifted focus and attention from Destiny to Marathon. I won't speculate on studio decisions and their reasoning, and I won't generalize the Destiny community for the comments and behaviors of some. But it's not a great look when you lash out at the next thing in line, Marathon. It gives your community a bad look and will only soil the memory of the game you're so passionate about. The last update for Destiny, Monument of Triumph, seems promising, extremely large, and well received among the community, and I couldn't be more excited for you all. With that said, I hope you continue to enjoy Destiny, as players have for the last 12 plus years. Because it's not going anywhere, it'll still be there to play, enjoy, and experience. And to that end, yes, use your hashtag #WeWantDestiny3, sign your petition for Destiny 3, rally for your game and passion as you will, but you don't have to bring one thing down to lift something else up. Attacking each other, community managers, the studio, and even calling for boycotts and review bombs is not the answer. And I yearn for the day when this animosity and opposition is not so prevalent in our gaming community, and we can all just hug it out and live in harmony.
This is great. Anyone want a hug? No hugs.
But sadly, I know that won't happen. Parts of the community will continue to be at odds and at each other's necks. It's a tale as old as time. But if this video can impact even one person to be more graceful, respectful, and optimistic, I'll be at peace. Because we're all human. Destiny players, Marathon players, and the great studio that brought us these worlds, Bungie, are all human and deserve to be treated as such, with grace, humility, and respect. With all that said, let's talk about the future of Marathon. Marathon Season 2 Nightfall is right around the corner, and boy does it look promising. I have nothing but admiration for the development team that have put their heads down and been hard at work improving and iterating on their game that is seemingly the center of a gaming cultural war zone. The dev team has delivered week in and week out in terms of balancing changes and updates, and it seems that content drops are no different. They seem to be leaning all the way in to the space horror sci-fi theme, which I couldn't be more excited to experience. Season 2 is going to bring us a healthy amount of new content, combat tuning, and quality of life changes. We'll be getting a new runner shell, a new skill progression system, new weapons, new attachments, new equipment, a new map, new enemies, and much more. We'll even be getting a taste of the new experimental PvE and PvP light game modes that Bungie have been working on. The new runner shell, Sentinel, is a defensive shell that looks super cool sporting their red Rorschach helmet, emulating the style and boldness of the Marathon brand. Sentinel focuses on using placeable gadgets to control space and fortify an area. They'll also provide passive upgrades to the team's weapon handling and resistances when surrounded by enemies, and when you're hit by enemy explosives. Sentinel has a snare mine that slows enemies down when proximity triggered. Their prime ability, the Defender system, is a trophy system-like gadget that targets and destroys incoming grenades and equipment. And their trait ability, Prey Tracker, is a short-range motion sensor that pops up a display on your screen showing enemy movement, reminiscent of Halo's motion sensor technology. The dev team is also bringing sweeping changes to the weapons, mods, chips, and implants in the game. They're also redefining the naming convention for implants, with the goal of making them easier to tell apart, making build crafting easier. They're introducing changes to the rarity of existing weapons, bringing new options to the armory with the goal of shaking up the meta. We're getting two totally new weapons as well. First, the KKV-9SD, a pistol frame SMG with an integrated suppressor and an extremely fast rate of fire, topped with the new folding stock mod. The KKV is meant to be an equalizer for close-range combat system that is ruled by shotguns. Second, we have the D54 battle pistol, a high-handling, medium rate of fire weapon that is meant to be a perfect and reliable sidearm for close-range combat. The development team is totally overhauling the way skill progression works as well, with a new system called the Cradle. The Cradle empowers Wee Worms to increase your runner's shell stats and unlock powerful perks across 6 categories: Strength, Recharge, Dexterity, Endurance, Support, and Resistance, all with the goal of not having runner progression locked behind faction upgrades and giving you more customization. You'll get experience points for the Cradle by dismantling your own weapons, equipment, and items. The new map, Night Marsh, promising to be more than just the same thing, but at night, looks to be a true survival horror experience, introducing new mechanics, new combatants, and locations. Along with pitch black darkness, Season 2 introduces new tech like flashlights, vector rounds, grenades, signal flares, and dark sight scopes meant to aid runners and illuminate the environment. This looks like a nerve-wracking experience, more so than Marathon already is, and I personally can't wait to dive in and try all these new things out. There's so many more changes coming in Season 2 that I haven't covered, from weapon balance, new slower grenade throwing animations, faction progression and contracts, quality of life updates, and even things Bungie themselves haven't shown us. You can read the full list of changes from Bungie's dev article, or if you haven't already, you can try the game yourself June 2nd through June 9th during Marathon's Open Play Week, where the game will be free to play on all platforms. As this video comes to an end, I want to bring us back to the question at hand. Can Marathon escape Bungie's baggage? I think only time will tell, but with a dev team that delivers like this, and an undeniable core community, the foundation is strong, and the future looks promising. This has been Scar, and thanks for watching my video. See you in the shadows of Night Marsh.